Welcome to the Podkey summary of Supercharge your spatial workflows with Reality Composer Pro 3 from WWDC 2026. This one is really about a whole creative workflow clicking into place. The big story is that Reality Composer Pro is pulling animation, behavior, scripting, navigation, particles, shaders, and live preview into one visual toolset, so teams can build and test ideas fast without constantly bouncing back into code. What stands out is how connected these systems are. You can make a character decide where to go, trigger the right animation while it moves, route it around obstacles, add smoke and surface effects, and then see the result live on Vision Pro almost immediately. A good place to start is the animation graph, because it shows the basic philosophy here. It uses a visual state machine, so instead of wiring everything up in code, you can literally see states like idle and walk as nodes, with a Boolean parameter like is walking driving the transition. That matters because smooth blending between clips is one of those things that can get messy fast when a project grows. Seeing the graph laid out visually makes the logic easier to follow, and the real-time highlighting of the active state gives you instant feedback about what the character is actually doing. And honestly, that kind of live highlighting is such a relief when you're debugging animation. You don't have to go hunting through code or guess why a blend looks wrong. The tool is basically pointing at the answer. Then you've got behavior trees in Reality Composer Pro, which let designers build multi-step autonomous routines visually. The main building blocks are composite nodes, like sequence, selector, and parallel, along with action nodes like move to, rotate to face, and wait. So a character routine can be assembled more like a flow of decisions and actions than a programming task. That opens the door for designers to shape behavior directly, instead of handing off every little change. The especially nice detail is that behavior and animation aren't living in separate worlds. You can wire a parameter setter node to that same as walking flag in the animation graph, so the character only plays its walking animation while it's actually moving. That kind of coupling sounds small, but it's exactly the difference between something feeling stitched together and something feeling coherent. Script Graph takes the same visual approach to interactivity. It's event-driven, with nodes like onInitialize and onTap that can set entity parameters and trigger changes in the scene. One example here is tapping an alchemist to trigger a ready-to-brew precondition. It's straightforward, but it shows the point really well. Interactions can be prototyped by anyone on the team without stopping to write code, compile, run, and repeat. That cuts out a lot of friction. If someone has an idea for how an object should respond, they can test it right away instead of turning a 5-minute tweak into a whole production. Navigation is another piece where the visual workflow pays off quickly. A navigation mesh defines the walkable surfaces, and with a navigation controller in place, characters can route around obstacles like trees and water automatically. So instead of scripting every path by hand, you're giving the system a readable map of where movement is allowed. That's a huge upgrade once environments get even mildly complicated. There's also support for off-mesh connections, which is the practical answer to spaces that don't naturally connect. If a ladder leads to a roof, or a jump links two separate navigation zones, you can author that bridge directly and let the character use it. It's one of those features that sounds very technical until you imagine how many strange little level design problems it quietly solves. On the effects side, Compute Graph breaks particle simulation into 4 phases: emitter, initialize, simulate, and output. That structure gives developers pretty fine-grained GPU control through Metal, including effects like cauldron smoke. The nice part is that this isn't just abstract flexibility for its own sake. Custom nodes like Spawn and Sphere from a bundle, plus forces like negative gravity, make it possible to build smoke that rises naturally, then fades, scales, and shifts color based on height. So you're not just dropping in a generic puff of fog and calling it a day. You can shape the behavior of the effect in a way that feels more alive and specific to the scene. Shader Graph is also getting more expressive. New nodes add subsurface scattering. There's an expanded Reality Kit PBR surface too, with sheen and improved diffuse and occlusion handling, and there are dedicated hair and portal surfaces for more specialized rendering. That gives artists more room to dial in different materials without leaving the node-based workflow. Skin, hair, polished surfaces, stylized portals, those all ask for different visual treatment. And the toolset is clearly moving toward handling that range more gracefully. The portal side is especially interesting because the portal geometry modifier can animate per pixel opacity and vertex geometry. So portals don't just sit there as flat effects. They can shift and deform in more visually dynamic ways, which feels very on-brand for AR experiences. One of the strongest parts of this whole setup is the live preview workflow on Apple Vision Pro. Using the Reality Composer Pro companion app with Mac Virtual Display, creators can preview scenes directly in the headset instead of judging everything on a flat screen first. That sounds obvious once you hear it, but immersive work really does change when you can check it in the actual context where it will be experienced. Scale, placement, motion, timing, all of that reads differently when you're inside it. And because live preview syncs with edits to things like animation graph, behavior tree, and script graph, the feedback loop stays tight. You make a change, you see the change, and you keep going. No ceremony, no detour. Taken together, the real headline isn't just any single feature. It's that all of these major systems, animation, behavior, scripting, navigation, particles, shaders, are authorable through visual nodes inside an integrated toolchain. That dramatically shortens prototyping time, and it also changes who gets to participate. Non-programmers can contribute meaningfully. Specialists can stay closer to their own domain, and teams can iterate without waiting on separate build steps every time they want to try something. That kind of immediacy tends to produce better work, because people experiment more when the cost of trying an idea is low. You can feel the tool encouraging iteration instead of punishing it. So the overall picture here is pretty clear. Faster iteration, better visibility into what systems are doing, and a much more connected way to build interactive, immersive scenes. And when your animation, AI behavior, pathfinding, particles, and shaders, and all talk to each other without the usual friction, that's when the fun stuff starts showing up a lot sooner. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.